Stockscores.com, and I am going to be your host for this evening. I'm going to go over all of the different areas of Stockscores, and I think that you will find it's valuable. Many of you are already Stockscores users. You probably have a pretty good idea how to use the website, but there might be some things you may not know about, some things that I do that are a little bit easier, or perhaps some tricks that you didn't know about. I will be recording this presentation. It's always with a caveat that it has to work. So I've got another computer running here in my office that is recording it. And as long as there's no technical glitches, I will email out a video of that presentation, and we'll do that tomorrow if everything works. Okay. I know that Obama is speaking right now. He's not that interesting, so let's get to the presentation. All right, so what are we going to do tonight? I'm going to go through different areas of Stockscores. We're going to start with the toolbar, the different functions on there, the Stockscores quick report, explain the indicators, what they do and how they operate. I'll show you how the charting works on Stockscores, how to change the settings on the charts, and how to create a default chart setting that works across all your charts. I'll demonstrate the watch list and portfolio creators, the chart viewers, which are real handy for looking at a large group of stocks in a short amount of time. Probably the most important area of the website is the market scan tool. I will go through that and explain some of the key filters in there. We'll touch on the sector watch. I'll talk about memberships. Things are going to change with the memberships likely soon. And I've got something new coming, which I will show you a little teaser of something that's coming in October. But you'll have to stick around to the end to see that. All right, so let's get into the presentation then. So I'm logged into Stockscores.com. Many of the tools that I show you in this presentation are free to use. Others are require a membership, and we'll cover off both of them depending on what your interests are. You will either want to subscribe to the website or just use the free stuff, but I will be showing all of that. All right, so let's start by focusing on the toolbar, which is this section at the top here, and it really gives you your navigation to the site. If you've never used Stockscores before, I recommend going to the Getting Started area. And if you want to know some of the key definitions or how some of the tools work, go into the user guide inside the Getting Started area. Now I'm going to be touching on the market scan tool, but there's actually a description of all of the filters of the market scan in this Getting Started area. So that's a good place to go if you ever have, a question about a little detail that you want to know about. If you want to know how the stock scores work, which is something I'll talk about today, if you want to know some basics of technical analysis and chart analysis, there's little essays in here. So for example, if you want to learn what the signal and sentiment stock score is, and again, I'll touch on this in a moment, but that's all explained in the Getting Started area. Under tools, we have all the different tools. I'm going to talk about most of these tools tonight. For those that are members of Stockscores, we have a live trading room. There's some of my students in there every day, day trading, swing trading, sharing ideas. That requires you to be a pro member or a client of DisNat, and you can get into that live trading room and talk to some of those other traders around the world. Products, different educational products that we have available, site memberships, which I said are probably going to change. I'm not totally certain about that, but I'll talk about that in a moment. And any background information on us, where you can submit a technical support question, and then of course the My Stockscores page. Now when you log in, this says where you end up, and this is essentially where all of your links to videos are, the tools that you are subscribed to, that sort of thing. So here you can see the My Videos area. Because I'm a full-fledged member, I have access to every video, but also all of the tools that I have access to are listed here. And if I wanted to update my account info or update my credit card for those that are paying members, all of that is in the Manage Account area. And the link to the current newsletter, actually not the current one, the one that's 2 weeks old, so you can always see the 2-week-old newsletters, the daily newsletter here, plus the current weekend edition newsletter. If you missed it in your email, that sort of thing, it's also appearing in this page. All right, So that's the toolbar. I don't want to spend too much time on that because that's kind of boring. Let's get to the quick report. Now the quick report is the stock report that shows the stock scores, the chart, and the different indicators for any stock. So if I punch in MSFT in the top right-hand corner, which is the symbol for Microsoft, and click on Go, I get the chart of Microsoft. I can see the stock scores. There you can see Microsoft has a 98 signal score, a sentiment score of 86. I'll explain these scores in a little bit. And if you go down below the chart, you will see that there are a number of tabs here with the different indicators. So under the trading tab, some of the highlights, you can see that Microsoft pays a $1.10 dividend, which is a 2.7% yield. Keep in mind that is an historical dividend. It doesn't mean that it's guaranteed for the future. Could go up, could go down, but that is what they have been paying. It'll give some indications of volatility. So currently the volatility in Microsoft is high. Bullish candle means the stock closed above its open today. Didn't have any abnormal activity today. Pretty actively traded 91,000 times. And you can see the last price. And of course, during the day, this will update. Now, this information is always about 15 minutes delayed. The indicators that we calculate, so if we go into these three tabs over here, price relativity, volume and momentum, and moving average volatility, those are things that are calculated by our calc engine throughout the day. And they're always about 30 minutes behind the markets because we feed it with 15-minute old data, and then it takes another 15 minutes or so to make those updates. Now, for day traders, that's not great, but we're going to show you some things that I use for day trading. But for the position trader, even the swing trader, that time lag is fine for the strategies that I utilize. So you can see here some of the price relativity things. Right now it's at a 40-day high, that's why it's at 100%. And it's 131% from the 150-day low. That basically means it's 31% above the 150-day low. 80-day low, 118%, you get the idea. Pivot analysis is something used by mostly futures traders. It's essentially an average of the high, the low, and the close of the trading day. That creates the price pivot, and then there's a little formula on where resistance 1 or the first level of resistance, the second level of resistance are. I personally don't use those. I prefer to look at the chart to establish resistance, but it's a common technical analysis concept, and so I have it there. If you want to know more information about pivot analysis, I recommend you do a Google search for pivot points or stock market pivots, something like that. There's lots of write-ups on the internet that explains the formulas and how they're used. Again, not something I use, but you may have an interest in that, so we do calculate those things. Excuse me. So, consolidations. What that means is price volatility compressing over time? Now, when we talk about short term, that's over the last 20 days, medium term, 40 days, long term, 80 days, I believe is the time frame. And so you can see there, long term, there is some price consolidation, but in the short term, the volatility has been picking up the last few days, and you can see that in the last 4 or 5 days, we've had a pickup in volatility. Big picture, the volatility is compressing. If I was to draw a line across these bottoms and draw a line across these tops, you would see that those lines are compressing toward one another. All right, so that's the quick report. You can also see the sector. So you can see that Microsoft is in the US Software Index. Most of us will know that, but it's helpful to sort of see, is the stock in a strong or weak sector, because of course stocks in strong sectors have a much greater chance of doing better. Now I'm going to touch on the charting tab in a moment. Before I do that, I want to just explain how the stock scores are calculated. The stock scores can be calculated for any stock that has 200 days of trading history. So a stock that just became public, 2 weeks ago, we don't have enough data yet to calculate the stock score. So if you try to go and get the stock scores for GoPro, which is a company that came public last month, there's just not going to be a score yet. That doesn't mean we don't have the chart, we do, but you just won't see the line at the bottom or the scores. How do these scores work? That's something I'm often asked. Well, let me first talk about why I created the stock score. Technical analysis is by its nature, somewhat technical. And most people don't have the time to read books about the different aspects of technical analysis, and nor do they have the desire to spend that time figuring it all out. So I wanted to come up with a simplified way to just paint a picture on a stock, whether it's good or bad. So what I did is I took the components of technical analysis, basically chart reading, momentum indicators, price indicators, volume indicators, and I put points on those components. So for example, some of you may be familiar with the MACD indicator. It's a very popular technical analysis indicator. Now, 80% of you probably don't know or care what the MACD is, but 20% of you will know that it measures whether the moving averages are diverging from one another or converging toward one another, and whether they are sloping up or down. So you don't have to know that because it's a component in the stock score. We essentially applied an algorithm that says if the MACD is doing good things, give it some positive points. If it's doing negative things, take away points. And that's really how the stock scores are derived. The signal stock score is the sort of the raw score, the key thing. Every stock is given 50 points to start out with. And we will take away points for bad things from a technical analysis standpoint, and we will add on points for positive things. So for example, when a stock is in an upward trend like Microsoft is, it's going to get quite a few points. When Microsoft breaks to new highs like it did here, or even 3 days ago, it's going to also get some extra points. When it does that with abnormal volume, it gets even more points. And so ultimately, a stock can get a whole lot of points if it is doing positive things. Now, I'm going to make this chart go back 3 years because you're going to see that when Microsoft was trending down over here, the score was relatively low. And when it started to trend up, when it started to build optimism back in April of 2013, you can see that the stock scores also trended up. Then the stock got kind of dead for 4 or 5 months back in the middle of 2013. Well, then the scores fall off. So you can see that they are quite a good measure of whether the stock is doing good things or not. Now, Microsoft has been a very strong performing stock among the large caps this year in 2014, and it has had a pretty strong stock score for just about all of 2014. Now, what we look for in the stock scores, and this is a real simplification, is we want this green sentiment stock score line to be above 60. So if you're saying, you know, should I buy Microsoft? Should I buy Pembina Pipeline? Should I buy a gold mining stock? One of the first things you should do is go into stock scores, pull up the quick report, and just see if that sentiment stock score, which is our right-hand score here, is above or below 60, because it is a real good measure of whether the market likes a stock or whether the stock is battling up an uphill battle. All right. So the sentiment stock score is nothing more than an exponential moving average of the signal stock score. It smooths out that raw signal stock score, and it's just a good way to determine whether a stock is strong or not. Now, you can see that in this chart since March, that sentiment stock score has always been above 60. It doesn't matter whether it's 62 or 65. There's not really a ranking. You know, you don't want to get too caught up in the scores. What's critical is it above 60 or below 60, and you want to be a little bit careful with stocks where the sentiment stock score starts to get up above 80. Not that they're bad. You don't want to sell those stocks, but you want to maybe shy away from buying them because they could be well into their upward trend already and therefore a little bit risky. Now, this is a real simplified look at the stock scores. I teach strategies where we use the stock scores in different ways. It's really a great way for the computer to look for good stocks for us. You know, we'll show the market scan later, and one of the things I often do is I want to look for certain criteria, and I will add in the sentiment stock score needs to be above 60 just to weed out the stocks that are in negative trends or not really showing an optimistic situation from the market. So that's how the stock scores work in a very simplified way. All right, now we're going to go on to charting. Stockscores has, in my mind, some of the nicest charts. I'm not a real hardcore technical analyst. I don't like to use a lot of technical analysis indicators, but I like charts that are big and easy to read, and I like to be able to change my time frame very quickly. So you can see that right now we have a 6-month chart of Microsoft up, and along the top of this chart we've got all these little fast links here, which is what I call them, fast links. So if I click on F or 5Y, that's essentially a 5-year weekly chart. I click on that and bang, I've instantly got a 5-year weekly chart. If I want to look at what happened over the last 5 days, I click on 5-day, and there I have a 5-day 5-minute chart. You can see there the time frame 5-day 5-minute. Now I may want to look at a 13-minute chart, so I can click on the time interval right here and change that to a 5-day 13-minute chart. You can see it comes up real quick. You know, we as analysts are trying to look at lots and lots of stocks, and I don't want to spend a lot of time messing around with my chart settings. I want to be able to go through them really quickly. All right. So those are the quick links, and they're real useful. Typically when I'm looking at charts, I usually look at a 6 or an 8-month chart initially. If I like the look of that, then I'll look at a 3-year weekly, and these quick links allow me to do that very quickly. So when I'm position trading, those are the time frames I'm looking at. Now if I'm day trading, I might be looking at a 6-month daily, so I can change that to daily. And then if I like what I see there, I'll go to the 2-day and just see where the pattern is. So for example, I'll show you a stock that's a little bit more interesting. This is a stock that I traded today. Actually, I bought it a couple days ago. And we'll just make this a 10-day, 13-minute chart. Okay, sorry, I had to sneeze there. I had to mute myself for a moment. Now I picked up on OTIV back over here on the 8th of September. And then this morning I sold it up here at 4. I personally sold it at 472, I believe. I had a stop at 463. I ended up jumping my stop a little bit. But that was a real nice gain, buying at 310, selling at 463. Well, if I want to really see how that chart unfolded, if I look at a 6-month daily chart, I don't really see all the detail, do I? But if I jump down into a 10-day, 13-minute chart, now I can see how that progress. So there you can see, for those of you that understand technical analysis, you can see the ascending triangle pattern that was building, and then the slow increase in volume on the 8th, which is what caught my interest. And again, I bought this shortly after the open on, I guess it was Monday. All right, so that's why we use these quick links, because we're all looking at charts for different reasons, and we want to be able to move in and out of that quickly. All right. Now let's go back into the chart here. I'm going to pull up Microsoft again, and I have a couple of questions coming in around charts. I will pause in a moment and answer those. Now, one of the key things when we're working through stock scores is everyone has their own chart time frame that they like to look at. If you're a position trader, you probably want to look at, like I am here, an 8-month daily chart. And you don't want to always look at that if you're but you don't necessarily want to use the default chart time frame. So here's how you change your chart time frame to a default that's right for you. Below the chart, if you're in large chart view anyways, click on the chart tab, and here you can see all the different indicators that you can add and the time frame and that sort of thing. So if I wanted to only look at weekly charts, and this is something I do on Saturdays, I will look at weekly 3-year charts. And I like candlestick charts. I like red-green candles. Some people are colorblind, and so black-white candles may be a better option. I can add in other indicators. You can see there's price band indicators, different moving averages. You can add in all of these different technical analysis indicators. I like to keep my charts clean, but you may like to use those. Something like the MACD you could plot. And you can, I'll come back to this in a moment. Let me click on Create Chart now, and you can see that now my default is a 3-year weekly chart. This chart is going back to October 2011. Now if I pull up any other chart, if I pull up Intel, it is a 3-year weekly chart. If I pull up Suncor, it is a 3-year weekly chart. So I've set my default, and that is really important when you start using the gallery viewers later, because you can see the different chart timeframes that you like on multiple different charts. So that's how you set your default. Now, some of you that have taken my classes will know about a concept called reward for risk. And there is an ability to draw reward for risk lines on these charts. So if on this chart I might say my entry price was $38, my support price 36, create chart, and now you can see that it has also drawn those reward for risk lines. So Suncor made a breakout from a sideways trading range back here, and that's not a great drawing of the lines as they should be, but a rough drawing. But now you can see that currently that trade is up about 2.5 reward for risk after hitting 4-to-1 reward for risk. Again, this isn't something that everyone's going to understand, but for those of you that know what reward for risk is, that's a little tool to draw those lines on there. Now, you may want to draw lines on your charts. There's two ways to do that. My preference is to download a little application called Snagit. So I've got Snagit running on my computer here, and I'll bring it into the screen for you all to see. And if I just click on this, you go to snagit.com, you download it. If I just click to capture, I can then grab the chart like this, and I can now, I got multiple screens as I'm talking to you here, so I'm just going to, oops, sorry, I lost my presentation there. I'm just going to bring this over. Now I'm in Snagit, and I can actually draw lines on the chart. So I can say, well, there's a little downward flag pattern. Long-term trend is up. I can change that to green to recognize that it's an upward trend. Those are some of the things that Snagit allows you to do. It does a lot more, by the way, but it's my preference for drawing on charts. Now, if you don't want to, spend the $50 on Snagit and utilize that tool, we do have a limited ability to draw on Stockscores charts as well, but you have to switch to the interactive chart. I'm not a big fan of the interactive charts, but it does allow you to draw on the chart. If you click on interactive and go to create chart, I may not have the latest version of Java running. I don't. Let's see if this works here. I should have done this before. Again, I don't use these all the time, so I'm not going to waste my time doing this now. But that's really what you have to do. Yeah, it won't work because I have to update my Java. So I'm going to go back to the quick chart. But once you're in the interactive chart, assuming you have the latest version of Java, assuming you get your security settings worked out, then you can draw on the chart, and there's a little drawing tool in there. I prefer the other method of drawing, which is using Snagit, but that's up to you. I'm just going to get caught up on a few questions. Someone is asking about, do I consider crossing from below 60 to above 60 as a big signal? We have a strategy called a sentiment crossover, and that's exactly what we look for. I wouldn't go out and buy a stock just because it has the sentiment stock score crossing above 60. It has to also have a confirming good chart pattern. But if it does have that, then that's an important signal. So I never buy a stock because of its stock scores. I buy stocks because they have good patterns. The stock scores help me find good patterns. It's a way to get a computer to do that. All right, now someone is asking about why the large move in Microsoft around the 8th. Quite truthfully, I don't really look into why big moves happen. Let's change this back to a daily here. We'll use the quick links here. Make this a daily 6-month chart just to look at that. I really don't know why. Upward momentum, I mean, you could probably research it, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. If the stock goes up, it goes up. The reason I don't like to look at why a stock makes a big jump is because then you fall in love and you don't listen to the market when it tells you to sell. And so I think it's dangerous to get caught up in the why of everything. The only time I look at really information and news is to see if there's catalysts. So for example, I bought a stock yesterday, and this was a feature in my newsletter as well, and I bought this stock because they have a catalyst. In the next little while, a company that they're invested in is going to be launching a new product, and I just thought that not only was it breaking from a good chart pattern yesterday, but it was also has a catalyst to drive speculation, and that's the reason I bought that. So that's really the only time I look into information. One person is having some trouble with sound. Not much I can do about that, sorry. He can't hear me, so I'm just going to type a quick message. I'm just going to answer his question. And Bob, you're asking about the relationship between the signal and sentiment. I'm going to reserve your answer for the video. You can just jump to the video and watch that. I'll have it out hopefully tomorrow. Just depends on how long it takes to create the video. All right, because I don't want to make this presentation go too long. Now, where do I get information about catalysts? Well, news releases are one, but the best source for sort of what's driving a stock as it happens is Twitter. So if you go onto Twitter, and I'll show you a little trick here. Once you're in Twitter, you can search using a little dollar. Oh, there you see Paris Hilton on our screen. She's always on Twitter. So if I wanted to know about Vox, I would type in the $ VOXX, and now you can see all the tweets that people are saying about Twitter, and you really get the quickest reaction in Twitter. So there you can see I actually made a tweet yesterday, and I explained that Vox had a new product launch. I managed to find it by looking through some news on some different websites I look at, and I made a tweet to let other people in the world of Twitter know about Vox, and other people are doing that as well. You can see there's been lots of tweets about Vox, and that's, I think, a real good source for finding things. If you go into Twitter, follow me, it's at Stockscores in Twitter. You set up a Twitter account, it's free, and you can follow people. You can follow me at Stockscores. You can see my little thing there, and anytime I tweet something, it'll appear in your Twitter browser. All right, this is a Stockscores presentation, not a Twitter presentation, so I think I'm going to move on. I'm caught up with some questions. Let me just jump back to my presentation to see what's next. All right, watch list and portfolio creator. So tools, watch list creator. Now what is a watch list, and why would you want to create one? A watch list is just simply a list of stocks that you are keeping an eye on. You know, you may have a list of stocks that you monitor. It could be stocks listed on the Toronto Stock Exchange in the energy sector, for example, that you have an interest in. You could create a list to look at on a regular basis. You could create a watch list of the stocks that you own, or the stocks that you would like to own and you're just waiting for the right chart to come along. In order to create this list, very simple, click on Watch List Creator, and here's a list that I've already created. It's called the Country ETFs list, and this is a list of all the exchange-traded funds that represent countries. I did a little Google search for country ETFs. There's lots of resources on the internet that gave me that list, and then I loaded up a watch list, which is what I'll show you how to do in a moment, with all those symbols. So let's create a new watch list. So I'm just going to click on Create, and we're going to call this Canadian Energy Stocks. Okay, and you can enter up to 250 symbols in one watch list. Now I'm not going to put a lot in, so I'll punch in Suncor, Surge Energy, we can do Prairie Sky, Encana. I don't want to do a lot here. That's good enough. You can put in 250 symbols. You could build a list of 30 or 40 stocks that you like and load them in here. Now the next thing I'm going to do is click on Next. And we have an option now of creating thresholds. So if you want to know if a stock is nearing a breakout point or nearing a support price, you can put thresholds in there. The thresholds that we have here are meaningless. It's just an arbitrary number that based on the current price. I think it's 5% above the current price. You could do less than. Let me know when Suncor dips below $42, for example. I might want to know when Surge is above $8.15. I might want to know when Prairie Sky gets down to 36, which is where they did their financing, that sort of thing. You don't have to do this. It's an optional step. If you don't do anything, it doesn't matter. Click on Submit. And now it's creating that watch list. And you'll see now if I go back to this, I clicked on the button 3 times, so it created the list 3 times. If I go to Canadian Energy Stocks, you can see what the last price is, where my threshold is. The price changed today. current stock scores, you'll notice that Prairie Sky has got an NA because it hasn't traded for 200 days yet. All right, now once you have a watch list created, you can add a new symbol to it. So if you wanted to add, I'm drawing a blank, we'll add Canacol, T.CNE to this watch list, another energy company. Just add a new symbol, click on Go, and it adds that symbol to the watch list. If you want to delete one, if I wanted to take Prairie Sky out of here, just click on the little red X and click on OK, and that's now gone from that watch list. Now if I go back to my watch list creator, if I want to delete a whole list, just bring it up and click on delete, and it will be gone. Now I created this 3 times, so I actually have to delete it 3 times because I was a little trigger happy with my mouse. So we'll delete those. There. Now that watch list is gone. Now one of the reasons we create watch lists is to be able to look at charts very quickly. So I'm going to jump to this concept of chart viewer right now. Going to Tools, Slideshow Chart Viewer. You can now view a watch list. So let's go to that country ETFs watch list, and it will now take you through a slideshow of all the stocks in that watch list. Now right now this slideshow is in small view, so you can see a little bit of pricing detail and a small chart. If you want to make it a big chart, click on it. If you want to make it a much bigger chart, click on the Switch to Large Charts link at the bottom, and now I can see those much bigger. Now all I have to do to go through these charts is just click on the right arrow key on my keyboard, and I can now cycle through charts. And I can see, hey, Malaysia's chart, fairly positive, looks like it could break out from optimism soon. Go to the next one. Italy, a little bit of a pullback. If it breaks that flag, maybe it goes higher again. So this is a way to sort of keep on top of a large group of stocks by going through them one chart at a time. Now that's the slideshow chart viewer. If you want to look at charts a little quicker, go to the gallery chart viewer. And again, you can pull up a watch list. So let's look at the sector ETFs list that I've created. And now I can see these charts 10 per page. So I can see that metals and mining is really lagging, whereas the technology sector is actually going into a parabolic upward trend. All right, just bear with me for a moment. I'm worried that my video recording over here has stopped. I got that fixed again. All right, so that's a quick way to look at multiple charts. Now if you're going through these and you want to look at a little more detail, just click on it and it'll blow it up for you. All right, so that's the watch list creator and the slideshow viewer and the gallery chart viewer. We'll come back to these viewers later. Let's now go to the portfolio creator. Very similar to the watch list creator, you're building a list of stocks, but in this case you're actually putting in how many shares you bought, the price you paid, the commission you paid, and it will track your performance. So you could say, well, I bought Microsoft, I bought 1,000 shares of Microsoft at I don't know, $25. I paid $10 in commission, and I bought it a year ago. All right. I could also say, well, I bought Vox at, let me just see what I actually paid for Vox. I'll put in some actual stocks here. So I bought it at 1031, and oops, I didn't. That's the number of shares. Sorry, I gotta get with you here. I actually bought 6,000 shares of that stock at an average of 1031, and I paid a commission. Well, I did 2 trades, so it's probably a $20 commission, and I bought that yesterday, so 09. And I bought, I'll put one more in here. I bought ETAC today. I didn't buy a lot of that. I think I have 5,000 shares at an average buy price of 1.09. My commission, again, $20. I bought that one today. So that's enough. I've got other stocks, but we won't go into all these. So I'll just call this Tyler's Stocks. Click on Save Changes. And now you can see what my current portfolio is, what my current positions are. So I'm up $130 on my position in ETAC, which is a 2.38% gain. Microsoft has gone up 87% for me. I actually don't own Microsoft. I was just punching in some numbers there. And Vox is currently up $3,500 for me at a gain of 5.69%. All right. So it's a nice way to see my portfolio. I can just log into Stockscores, check out my holdings. You know, you update this as you do new trades and keep an eye on it. If you want to edit your portfolio, let's say you sold Microsoft, you can just click on delete, save changes. Now it's gone. If you want to view the stocks in your portfolio, well, hey, go back to the watch list or go back to the viewer. Let's use the slideshow chart viewer, and instead of view my watch list, let's look at view my portfolio. So go to Tyler Stocks, and there you can see the charts of the stocks that I own. I own ETAC. Go to the next one. I own Vox. These are weekly charts. If I want to see daily charts, I could do that, and now I've got a daily. Okay, so that's the portfolio creator. I'm going to get caught up on a couple questions. Do I trade pre-market or aftermarket? No, I don't. Very rarely anyway. Do you have to enter all the company's tickers in the watch list? Yes, you do. Do I offer a virtual account? We have a virtual account at my other website, which is tradescores.com. So if you want to do simulated trading and practice, go to tradescores.com. It's free to use, and you'll have to create an account in TradeScores, and you can track your virtual holdings. It'll give you a trade score to show you how well you're doing, tracks where you bought, where your entry price was, your hold period, your performance, that sort of thing. So go in there and you can also see charts of the stocks you hold. It's a nice little tool, free to use. Cost me a few $100,000 to build this thing, and I make it free and available for anyone to use. All right, so that's where you want to go if you want to do a virtual trading account. Okay, so let's continue on. And Sandra's asking about how I use stop losses. That's not the purpose of this presentation. I will do presentations on that kind of a topic. You know, I do webinars a couple every month. This one is all about a tour of Stockscores, and where I put stops is pretty much something covered in my educational courses that I do, and we'll touch on that in a little bit later, but for today's presentation, that's getting a little bit deeper. That would take a whole other hour to go through. All right. So let's go back to this and see where we're at. Okay, market scan, the real critical part of Stockscores. How do you find the stocks to trade? Well, this is the market scan tool. It's the tool I use every day. I've been using it for as long as Stockscores has been around, which is over 10 years, and it's a real important tool for finding opportunities in the market. We have all these indicators to choose from, and with these indicators and all these different filters, I can search the market however I want. So let's say I want to look at Canadian stocks. I can say all Canadian. I can say I want a sentiment stock score of greater than 60 and maybe a signal stock score of greater than 80, and I can say stocks that were up at least 3% today, breaking through 5-day resistance, and trading at least 100 times. Okay, I've just made a very simple market scan. It's not necessarily one that's got a lot of meaning, just something that I'm trying to demonstrate a certain concept to. Now, what it has done, it has gone through every stock that trades on the Canadian market, and it has found all of those that meet the criteria of what I filtered for. So I can now say select all and view in one of my chart viewers, which I showed you already. So if I want to view it in the gallery, I leave it at gallery, or I can select slideshow, click on go, and now I can see the charts of all those stocks, and I can then cycle through them looking for, you know, whatever chart pattern I'm looking at. Okay, now let's go back to the market scan. Let's say you're an investor, relatively conservative, you only want to own stocks that are paying a dividend, let's say, and you want stuff for the longer term. So let's try that. Let's go through all the Canadian market looking for stocks that pay a dividend. So we're going to click off this pays dividend box, and maybe you want decent yield, at least 3%, and you want stocks with a healthy chart, sentiment stock score greater than 60, and you don't like stocks under $5, so you want it to be greater than $5, and trading at least 100 times a day, so it's got some liquidity. Run that report. There are 57 stocks in Canada that meet those criteria. Again, next step to view the charts. Well, we'll go gallery this time. Click on gallery, and you can now cycle through those charts and look for the ones that you like. This is something I do every day, every weekend, looking for stocks to trade. I don't have the time. Nobody has the time to look through the 10,000 stocks that are listed in North America. This tool allows you to go through all the Canadian markets, all the US markets for whatever criteria you put into the filtering tool. All right, now I'm going through this very quickly, and I recognize that. I don't want to keep you all here too long tonight, but remember, I am recording this as a video, and you'll be able to go back and slow it down and watch it 4 or 5 times if you want. So I want to give you a quick overview of everything on Stockscores to show you how all that works. All right, so that is the market scan tool. Now let's go back to it. Now I started out by showing you just some of the filters, and there's many of them on here, but I was really creating my own market scan on the fly. There are, however, preset scans that you can do as well. So, for example, if you wanted to use one of my preset scans, let's say you're looking for stocks with strong yield, I have a scan there called Canadian Strong Yielders. I can run that. It's going to find almost the same list, a little broader because I didn't limit it to under $5 or greater than $5. And that's one of the preset scans. I can go back. Let's say you're a day trader and you want to find the stocks that are worth day trading today. Well, that's a pro scan. If I go down to the pro scan, select day trader, I can now run that report. And there are 77 stocks that meet some of the basic criteria that I have for day trading. All right, these are stocks that are trading abnormal volume, lots of volatility, interesting stocks to day trade. Now, how or what scan you pick depends on your membership level. If you're just in the free level, you're only going to have a limited access to these tools. If you are a advanced level, paying $29 a month, you have access to these tools, but not a lot of education with that. You have to sort of fly on your own skill. If you are a pro member and you've taken one of my classes and you've learned my strategies, really my best strategies, then you get access to these pro scans, and you're going to know a little bit more about things like the Stockscores Simple strategy, for example, which is one of my favorites, and you can run that and look for stocks that meet the criteria of that strategy. Okay, so that's a real quick overview of the market scan basic functionality. I'm just going to touch on some of the filters here. We've got price filters, this section. You can see that there's things like stocks making breakouts, where they are relative to their 40, 80, or 150-day high or low, whether there was a moving average crossover, whether volatility is high or low, what the price range is. A real important one for Stockscores, and I'm just going to get out of this preset scan here, a real important one for my method is looking for abnormal price action. So the abnormal day up filter, something you won't find anywhere else. It uses linear regression to evaluate whether a stock's price movement is abnormal, and that's a real positive filter. Now we also have volume filters. You can see the number of trades, for example. Is the stock liquid enough or not? Something that I really think is important is the number of trades filter. So if I want stocks that are pretty liquid, I'll set that at 1,000. If I'm day trading, I'll set that at 10,000. If I'm trading Canadian stocks, I might only have that at 100 because the Canadian stock market isn't as liquid. You can also look at some indicators. There is also an abnormal volume indicator. Real important for when I'm day trading. I want to see stocks that are abnormal volume trading at least 10,000 times a day and run that filter, and there's 12 stocks that met that basic criteria. So those are some important filters. We also have momentum filters if you are familiar with things like stochastics, RSI, MACD, whether the trend is bullish or bearish. That's all covered off in that section of the tool. Now when you build a scan, let's say you want to make your own scan, you can actually save it with your own name. So I could do a scan that looks for abnormal volume, at least 10,000 trades a day, and just save it as day trader 1, check to save scan, market scan report. Now when I go back to my market scan tool and I go to my presets, which is down at the bottom here, these are my saved scans, you can see that I have a scan in here now called day trader 1. And if I go back to that, I can run that scan and see those stocks. That allows me to go back and forth to these over and over again. So if someone is asking about whether they can eliminate a market like the OTC or eliminate price cap on stocks instead of having to re-enter it, that's where you want to do a preset scan. So if you save your own scan, go to the market scan tool, you could say, well, I only want to look at the Amex, the NASDAQ, the New York. You don't want the OTC bulletin board. You don't want the pink sheets, let's say. Now you could add in some other filters, sentiment score greater than 60. We can go on and on, add a bunch of filters. Now give it a name. And so Eric's asking this question. Give it a name now. Once you've given it a name, make sure you check on the check to save scan box and then the market scan report. Now when you go back to the market scan, you can just choose that market scan to find or you run that one over and over again without having to re-enter the settings in all the time. So hopefully that answers your question. George is asking if this is the same market scan that is included with DisNat Direct. Yes, it is. And cost for Pro, I'll talk about the different course options later on, pretty quick actually. Scott is asking the scan that picked up on ETAC today. The scan to find that one would be a Pro scan called the Morning Simple US. Run that, and ETAC should come up on here. I was actually using another platform which I found it, but there you can see ETAC right at the top of the list. And so I'll run that scan about 40 minutes after the market open, and it'll pick up on stocks that are starting to make price moves in an abnormal way right at in the first part of the day. All right, last question before I move on. Do I have options education on Stockscores? We have a limited amount of options education. I'm not an options trader. I'm not an expert on it. We do have a video on the basics of options in the education area, which I'll touch on in just a moment. All right, so I don't want this presentation to go over an hour, so I'm going to plug right along here. We're just about ready to wrap it up. Sector Watch tool. The last tool I'm going to show, and there are other tools on here. There's a risk calculator and some other tools, but let's just touch on the Sector Watch quickly. This is a tool where you can see where the money is flowing in the market, what sectors are leading and what sectors are lagging. The US indices, for example, if I click on this, you can get a sort of a tree of all the different sectors that make up the US market, as well as their average sentiment stock score. So you can see here restaurants, pretty ugly. They got a red 37. Whereas lodging, so people like to travel, but they don't like to eat out at restaurants right now, while lodging is very high. If I click on the lodging group, I can see the stocks that make up that sector as well as their score. Now, I can see this in a list view, or I can click on gallery view and see those charts just as I did with the gallery viewer before. Okay. Now you can go into the Canadian Sector Watch as well, so I can click on Canadian indexes. I can click on the TSX 60, and there's a list of all the stocks in the TSX 60. You can then click on Gallery View and look at all the charts that make up the TSX 60. Now right now I've got this set to a pretty short time frame. I could make this longer. Let's make it a 1-year chart, and now I got 1-year charts of all of these. Okay, whoops, I clicked on something that I shouldn't have. All right, so that's another way to do that quick overview. I don't use this a lot because I prefer to look at the stock first, and then if I like the stock, I'll go look at the sector. But some people like to do the top-down approach where they look for the strong sector and then look for the stocks within that sector. In this market, because we've been in a bull market, that doesn't make a ton of sense because most of the sectors are either neutral or strong. But here you can see what's leading in the Canadian market, the income trust, the industrials, utilities. These are all dividend payers, dividend index, that sort of thing. So that's another little tool in the Stockscores website. All right, so what's next on the agenda? Memberships. Let's talk quickly about memberships. We have, if you go to the products section, go to site membership, we have 3 membership levels. Basic, free. You can look at charts, you can build watch lists, you can build a portfolio, look at all the charts you want, that's all free. If you want to use the market scan and you don't want my strategies, if you want to build your own strategies, use the market scan tool using your own knowledge, then take the advanced level, $29 a month, no initiation fee. All right. This may disappear soon. I am toying with the idea of eliminating this. Now, if you are an advanced member, at the time that I eliminate it, I won't turn you off. But it may be something that is not available in the next month or two. So if you have ever wanted to be an advanced member of Stockscores, I recommend that you register for it soon, because it may be that soon the only people that will have access to the market scan tool are my students. And again, I haven't decided on that 100% yet, but it is something I'm toying with. So for now, it's still open. If you sign up and I eliminate it 2 months down the road, I'm not going to turn you off or kick you out, but it is something that may change soon. All right, the final level is the pro level, and that requires that you take one of my educational courses. So I'm going to just jump to another page here that I'd like everyone to take a look at that's interested in my educational offerings. You can see the URL on screen at stockscores.com/learn, and on this page you have an overview of my two course offerings. One is called the Investor course, which is really about using the market scan, my strategies for finding stocks that you're going to hold for weeks, months, even years. The Active Trader course is for the swing trader, the day trader. And then we have a mentorship option as well. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that tonight. I do webinars every month that go into this in more detail, but there are videos on this Learn page that you can watch. They're 10 or 15 minutes long, and you can go in and see how all these courses work and how you can get pro-level access. The course price for the home study is $24.95 for the investor, $34.95 for the active trader. Now, I said that I have something new coming. I'm going to touch on that now. I'm currently building a brand new online educational center, which will be on Stockscores likely early October. Anyone that takes my course now or has taken it recently is going to be getting a free upgrade to the new Stockscores Learning Center. Now, I've got a little mock-up here. This isn't exactly how it's going to look, but it's a basic mock-up. And you can see that we've got modules here. So here's the basic. This will be free videos. Every module, every lesson will have a video, a written document explaining that topic, an assignment for you to practice that topic, and then a test for you to take. Now, if I go into the foundation level, you'll see a drop down here. You'll see the areas that are made up in the foundation course. So that course is going to be $9.95. It's not going to go into strategies, more how to read chart patterns, how options work, what are the basics of options, how to use the market scan tool, how to execute a trade, how to do risk management, how to do a sector analysis. Those sorts of topics will be in the foundation. And again, you'll be able to look at that module. I'm not sure if this will work here. No, it's not completely built yet. It should be done, like I said, first week of October or so. But once you're into a module, you'll be able to watch a video, read the online document, even print it to view on an airplane if you want. Do the assignment, get the assignment. I'll have 10 questions that you should do to learn that particular module, and then take a test. And so it's a nice way to do self-paced work through the different course material. Now, the investor course, which I showed you just a moment ago, that's all going to be online soon as well. The active trader course will all be online as well. And again, this is just a mock-up. We're building this now. We're creating all the content for this. I think it's a pretty exciting area. You're going to be able to do this all online with my support. And again, anyway, if you want to take the course tomorrow, great. You can start on all of the material that we have already. We're just going to be adding to it with this online education center. And of course, anyone that does any one of my courses will get a free upgrade to whatever level they're at to this online education tool. So that's the new thing that I have coming. And I give you a little sneak peek on it. We've got the mock-ups built. My programmers are building the back end. I'm creating the content right now. And any of you that have taken my course in the last year or two, you'll know that some of my videos have me with a lot more hair than I have now. I created some of that content 6 or 7 years ago, although it still totally applies. I thought it would be time to show my true age and update all that content. So everything's being updated and cleaned up, and we're adding a lot of content. So I'm pretty excited about that. A lot of work for me, but we will have that stuff coming soon. I'll get caught up on some questions. Bob is asking about the cost for the advanced membership. It is $29 a month. Is there a bundle if you want to learn both the investor and active trader? Great question. If you do the active trader, you get everything in the investor. So the active trader is more expensive, and it includes everything in the investor course as well. The investor doesn't include active trader, but active trader does include investor. And if you go to that stockscores.com/learn page, all that is covered in those little 10-minute videos that you see here on the screen. So if you have an interest in that, give that a look, and email me with any questions. I don't do high pressure sales. If you ask me a question, I'm not going to bug you for the next 6 months to take my courses. So that's not how I operate. Does the active trader course require taking any of the other courses? It does not. It includes everything else, but I'm not into, you know, take level 1 now and then oh, you finished level 1, now you got to take level 2, give me another $3,000, and then oh, you took level 2, it's time to take level 3. I don't operate that way. I've seen people go through these educational traps, I call them, where they end up spending 20 grand on education, and they still haven't learned what I've taught them in one course at $34.95, for example. So I keep my course prices pretty reasonable compared to others in the industry, and I give you everything in the course. There's no extra things that you need to do. Do I still offer courses through DisNat? We are going to be offering part of this material through DisNat, and that'll be something that we'll be announcing in October as well. Currently, our current material is offered, so for those of you that have an account with DisNat, you can get our old material still on the DisNat version of Stockscores. All right, if there's any other questions, this is your chance to submit them. It's just about 7 o'clock, so I've just about hit my target of making this a 1-hour presentation, but I'll take another moment to answer some questions. I'm also going to put my contact information up here. Here's a quick little bit of details on the courses. I'll leave this up for a moment. This is the investor course, $24.95 for the home study. I do teach these classes live a couple times a year, and if you do the home study and you want to come to the live, you just pay the price difference to attend the live. The live is always $500 more than the price you see on screen here, so you can always come to a live class. Even if you took my course 5 years ago, just pay the price difference and you can come. You get unlimited email support from me when you do these classes. You get 6 months subscription to my websites. After 6 months, it's $300 a year, for example, to renew on Stockscores. The investor course, it's $1,000 more, and that's really because you get my proprietary trade station indicators, which are important for my day and swing trading strategies, as well as some different strategies for active trading. And I'm going to just leave this screen up here. There's that important address, stockscores.com/learn, where you can get a little more detail on my course material. I will answer some more questions. Sorry, I just got to clear my throat here. I'm just going to mute myself for a moment. Okay, what do I think of my positive net gains are in investing in stocks? Well, if you know anything about my story, when I was 19 years old, I started trading the market with $3,000, some of which I borrowed off the credit card. I was a student in business, and to tell you the truth, I don't even know what I've made over the years, but it's millions of dollars. I, today made just about $10,000 on the trades I did today, and I did a quick look at my portfolio since the start of the summer. It's up about 30%. I'm just giving you ballpark numbers because I haven't done a hardcore analysis, but that's roughly where I'm at in the last few months. So that's hopefully answers your question, Craig. If I trade options, will Stockscores day trading course benefit me? Certainly you can use options to leverage the trades you do. Many of my students do that because they want to get the leverage from options. Not all the stocks that I trade have liquidly traded options, but those that don't are usually pretty volatile stocks. So we talk about a stock like OTIV, for example. It went up, what did it go up today? I think it was up as much as 40% over yesterday. You don't need to trade options when you're trading a stock like that, because you can take a decent position as a swing trade, hold it for 3 days, make 40%. That's not bad. Now, sometimes I'll trade Yahoo. In that case, you might want to trade the options because it gives you that leverage. George is asking, are market scan results derived from real-time data feed? No, they are not. And for my active trader students, I do have a tool here called TradeStation, which you see on screen right now. And when you take my active trading class, you get these indicators here, which are proprietary Stockscores indicators for TradeStation. And so if you want to trade in real time, day trading, even swing trading, this is part of what I offer. as part of that active trading course. Now, again, watch that little video. It'll show you a little bit of information on this. And if you have some information, more information, you can email me, and I've got some other videos I can email you on some of that stuff. Eric is asking about the US dollar. Been pretty strong lately, and I guess he's looking to go down to the US from Canada. Is it a good time? I don't want to get a whole lot into that, but I'll give you a quick look at the chart of the Canadian dollar. So if we go into the ETF, FXC is the symbol for the Canadian dollar ETF. And big picture, you know, it's had a little bit of weakness with the US dollar, but you compare that with the euro. You know, the euro's plummeted. So is most global currencies have plummeted. The yen, a lot of weakness. So the Canadian dollar has actually held up relatively well versus the very strong US dollar. And I think it probably holds that 90, on the ETF it's 91, which is about 91 cents. So my sense is you're probably going to see the Canadian dollar hold between 90 and 93 cents. I don't know if that answers your question. My outlook for long-term bonds, you know, I don't want to get into that tonight. That's a bigger question. What I would do is take a look at the TLT, because that's where things are going to trade off of. You can see the TLT is still in an upward trend. It's pulled back. It should bounce off of that trend line. And so my sense is the bond market is risky, but it's still in a bull market. If I use another platform for executing my trades, will the trade station indicator still be useful? I use another platform for executing my trades as well. So I've got TradeStation running to do my analysis, and I jump over to my Disnat trading platform to actually do my trades. And so that's not a problem. It's just, you know, one extra step, I guess. Mary is asking whether this presentation is recorded. Yes, it is. She came in late. So if you missed part of this, or obviously I went through a lot of stuff very quickly, and I have recorded this entire presentation, and as long as I didn't have a technical problem, I will be emailing you a link to it tomorrow. We just have to compile the video, upload it to YouTube, and you'll be able to watch it, email it to your friends, whatever you want to do. I don't think I have any more questions coming in, so I think I'm going to wrap up because it's 7 o'clock. And I hope that it was beneficial. I do these webinars every month, and every month it's a different topic. So keep checking back to the homepage of Stockscores. If you go to the homepage here, you can see right in the middle is what our next webinar is going to be. So in the next couple of days, I will update the details here with our next topic, and you can sign up. They're always free, and hopefully keep on learning and learn my method and just the general approach to technical trading with Stockscores.com. I want to thank you all for participating tonight. Hopefully it was valuable to you, and I will, like I said, get that video out to you all tomorrow. Have a great night and trade well.